floor is open for questions and answers. We have some questions in the chat box. I will now. This question is for Andreas. Andreas, why is Erdogan placing his mercenaries across the world, including in Yemen, Syria, Armenia, and in Kashmir? Now, several reports suggest that he has been paying thousands of dollars to each of these terrorists. Now, the question is, where is the funding coming from? Andreas, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. The biggest fund of Mr. Erdogan is Qatar. Also, we have to know something else that I forget it before. Before some days, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan pledged mutual support in territorial disputes. The new agreement is known as the Islamabad Declaration. So, this declaration, signed by Turkish Foreign Minister Mr. Çavuşoğlu, Azeri Foreign Minister Ceyhun Bayramov, and Pakistani Foreign Minister Sam Mahmoud Qureshi. So, this agreement threatened Greece and Cyprus. And you have to know also that behind this agreement is Qatar and also Muslim Brotherhood. So, I believe that there is a great plan of Erdogan. He wants to establish a new Ottoman Empire in Libya, in Syria, and we see also in Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh. As I said before, the answer is one. India is one of the countries in the world with nuclear weapons and nuclear potential. Greece and India will be able to oppose the Turkish-Pakistani defense axis in the future. I believe that if Greece and India make exercises or we can cooperate in the defense sector, I believe that we will stop Turkey. But I believe also that in this axis, between Greece and India, we can put also United Arab of Emirates, also Egypt, and also Israel. United Arab of Emirates support Greece, and before a few months, we had a different defense agreement. So I believe that Greece, India, United Arab Emirates, and Israel, of course, we can make a new deal in the Aegean Sea and in the Eastern Mediterranean, and we can stop Turkey. This is, we live difficult days because if we don't stop Erdogan, I believe that the next war will be in the Aegean Sea. So we have to be careful, and we have to take serious the relations between Greece and India.
Very, very well explained. Thank you. There is another question, and it is directed to Vandana ma'am.
Gauravji, can I take the questions that are in the chat box?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. It's directed. Okay. First question that I'm thinking is, will a military cooperation between Greece and India not provoke Turkey to take strategic actions and push it in the arms of China? So I think, ma'am, you can.
Yes. See, even if we do not make a military cooperation with Greece, even then Turkey is in the arms of China. And I gave you the example that why the issue of Uyghur Muslims are not being raised by Turkey, who is calling itself the protector of Islamic faith and people. So Turkey is already in the arms of China, and looking at the economic situation that the country is facing, this China nexus of Turkey will develop. So it is irrespective of whether we grow our relationship with Greece or the Europe or not. So there is no need to be apprehensive of this. This nexus will grow. And I'm also taking this second question where Bhavdeep Modi is asking about how Quad can play a role to counter the Turkey-Pak-China nexus. See, we know that there was a naval exercise in the Bay of Bengal, Malabar area of India, and China was not very happy about this naval exercise which took place between Australia and the four Quad members. Now, these are the kind of activities that other nations need to do. As Sonam Mahajanji very rightly said, that the question is not only of one or two country or the national interest of one or two country, it's about the world peace. So if there is a negative nexus building in your neighborhood, it is flourishing with terrorist activities, it is funding terrorist activities into different countries, and that too, as far as hundreds and thousands of kilometers away, then the only option is that how well you can collaborate with like-minded countries and in which areas. And Professor Nomiko has also very rightly said that there is an urgent need to have this naval cooperation between India and Greece. And I really welcome Professor Nomiko's all those suggestions that India can very well be a naval satellite with Greece, which the country is actually missing to some extent. So that is my response. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. My next question is to Professor Namikos. There is a question from Aris Dimitrioulos. The question is big, but I'll try to reframe it. Can we are whether we are going to see close defensive alliance between two countries? I think that has been answered. But what interesting what he has said is that furthermore, Greece has no military satellites, and India fills that severe gap with its military satellite. So, a cooperation on the basis of science and technology, specifically space security. How do you see that, sir?
Now, this is a very interesting question. First of all, I have to, agree with Professor Vandana Misra and the lady, the geopolitical analyst, Sunat Mahajan, which I listened very carefully what they said. Well, of course, Greece is a small country, 11 million people, a member of NATO, a member of the EU, and they're very close, to the United States and Canada. Of course, we have a lack of satellite. I think that's one of the reasons that we need to come closely militarily and that the research and development, with India. All right. Of course, if India can provide us with a logistic support and satellite, support to Greece, covering, the Aegean and Mediterranean is going to be welcome. But this is a governmental matter, which I think they will think in the right direction. Now, because of the NATO protocol, because we are a member of NATO, we have to, to follow NATO protocol in parallel with Turkey, which is a member of NATO, but violate NATO protocol by buying S-400, from Russia. So this is one of the reasons that Joe Biden is going to be very strict on Turkey. And one thing that I like to tell you, regarding, the Turkey's role in the West or the East. My question to you, is Turkey going to the East or to the West, even though it's a member of the NATO and as a country which belongs to the Western club? But let me tell you something. Turkey. The Americans want to replace Erdogan in 2021, but this is going to be a big gap. Who's going to fulfill this gap? Of course, it has to go through election, democratic, process, and not by a violent election. But I just want to provoke by saying to you that's not an easy case, because even the Americans want to replace Erdogan in 2021. Who's going to resist? China is controlling, Turkey economically. Like Master Andreas Mujuroya said, Qatar, Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, Hezbollah are there. They get a lot of money from Islamic, banking system, and all these jihadi networks are there. So China is supporting, and Qatar supporting China financially. That's one of the reasons that Turkey is not going to the IMF. So because China does not allow that for their own purpose. And of course, remember something else, that Russian, Mr. Putin, is keeping Erdogan alive because they support them, by providing intelligence information to them. So even though the Americans they want to change to replace Erdogan, it would not be easy because of the Russian and China resistance. You see now, Turkey is coming like a barrel area for three players: United States in the west, China in the east, and of course, Russia. It's very complicated. And of course, now India is having a new strategic role to play now in order to counterbalance, India, sorry, to counterbalance China. But remember one thing, never forget that India is a democratic nation. A democratic nation. China is a communist state controlling the people with a capitalist economy, if we can call them capitalist economy, but it's controlled by communists. Russia, of course, is a democratic nation, but they have very strong surveillance. So Turkey right now is like a volcano to explode. The Americans, they have to deal very carefully, John Biden and Kamala Harris, who's the vice president with India roots. So one thing that I want to say, yes, satellite is important, like Mr. Dimitrello said, we have to do that. But allow me to finish very fast with an idea. We in Greece, we tried to activate the Indian diaspora in the United States and Canada. If we activate the diaspora, the Indian diaspora in these two countries, come close to the Greek diaspora, we can make miracles. Believe me, I have lived in the United States and I have seen Indian Americans and I have seen Indian Canadians. They are making miracles. Even my niece, who is Greek citizen, Greek American, is married with Indian engineering and living in Texas. So through my relatives, I know the Indian DNA. We can make a miracle using the diaspora, have Greece have Greece in Athens, of course, in the whole country, and have New Delhi, to collaborate together. So we don't look only Greece and Greece and India as a two state. We look diaspora, India diaspora in Canada and India diaspora in the United States with the Greeks coming together. That's something that you from India and us from Greece, we have to, always to activate the people who live outside the country because they are very powerful people and they love their country. Please, I'm doing that already. I'm doing that. I have a collaboration with the Indian diaspora in the United States, and now we try to activate the Indian diaspora in Canada. Something that I like Professor Vadana and Mrs. Sonak Mahajan to stay in touch, and to see how we can join our forces and have Andreas Mujurulias, who's a very, powerful, individual in Greece, which is own, platform of communication to join forces. We need to join forces against Pakistan and Turkey. Of course, France and Greece and Cyprus are welcome. That's what I want to say.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Nomikos, for an elaborate answer. The next question is directed to Sonam Mahajanji. Ma'am, we have seen that a handful of pro-Pakistani extremists in Kashmir celebrated Erdogan's victory in last election. Do you think that Kashmiris would fall prey to the covert operations of Erdogan?
I think we first need to understand that the Islamism problem in Kashmir is confined to very few districts. And there is only a section of Kashmiris who are probably influenced by the extremist Wahhabi mentality, who probably would celebrate somebody like Erdogan. If you see the Islamism problem, like I said, it's very confined in Kashmir. So I don't see a very big scope for somebody like Erdogan to be accepted as some sort of a mass leader by an average Kashmiri. So, but then we should also not be oblivious of the fact that there is a jihad problem in Kashmir funded by Pakistan. And there is vulnerability among a section of youth in Kashmir. So we need to be a bit cautious because we also see that a lot of Kashmiri students, they go to Turkey for internships, for their higher studies, and they could as well be radicalized more and sent back. And ever since Erdogan has been to Pakistan, he made a number of statements about Kashmir in the Pakistani parliament, and he was hailed by both the government of the day as well as the opposition. Because, you know, when you talk of Pakistan, whether it is Imran Khan or Nawaz Sharif, when it comes to India and Kashmir policy, all of them, you know, have just been the same. None of them have tried to bring the solution to this problem, because honestly speaking, there's no solution. If it was a political issue, we could have sorted it out, but this is a problem of religious radicalization. Unless we call it out by its name, we can't really deal with it. And Pakistan has always been beating around the bush, saying that it's some sort of a political issue, and you know, Kashmiris did not have a right for us. India hasn't given them the right for a self-determination. But I'm sorry, if you want some sort of a freedom based on your religion, and you don't want to stay with India just because India is a Hindu majority, then India is not going to grant you such freedom, because Kashmir has been and is an integral part of India. So somebody like Erdogan has very little stake in Kashmir, but at the same time, we need to be cautious. Like I said, we have a lot of Kashmiri students studying in Turkey, and with Pakistan and Turkey nexus coming up and getting stronger by the day, we need to keep a tab on it.
Thank you, Sonam Mahajanji, for this elaborate answer. There is one more question, and it is directed towards Andreas. Andreas, this question is from Aras Dimitrolis. He said that I'd like to point out that indeed Qatar is behind the expansionist politics of Muslim Brotherhood. Will there ever be the possibility of heavy sanctions against Qatar, who play their cards very carefully when it comes to the Muslim Brotherhood's influence in the MENA region?
Okay.
Andreas?
No. Yes. No, I believe Qatar plays a bad role, not only in Gulf, not only in the Middle East, but also in Europe. As I told before, Qatar helps Turkey. If Qatar didn't found Turkey, Turkey will not made all these wars. Also in Libya, in Syria, or in Nagorno-Karabakh. I believe that Europe, I don't know why, I believe that Europe will not sanction Qatar, because you know Qatar is a powerful country. You know they have gas, but I believe that the only country that can win Qatar is United Arab of Emirates. And as I told before, Greece and UAE we have created a new alliance, and I believe that with the support of Israel, we can defeat our enemies. But I wanted to say something else, because I forgot it before. You know that India and Greece, we have Rafale jets. France sell this Rafale, these jets in Greece, and also you have to know that we will buy new missiles. What I want to say, as I know, India will put missiles BrahMos, you know BrahMos missiles, in Rafale jets. I believe that this is a great challenge for us, and I believe that we can buy these BrahMos missiles, and we can put these missiles in Greek Rafale jets. So I believe that we have many challenges in front of us, and we have to grab these challenges and to win our enemies.
Okay, so thank you, Andreas. The next question is directed to Vanda ma'am. Ma'am, do you see the possibility of a regional global alliance against Pakistan, Turkey, Malaysia trio that could be led by countries like India, Greece, and Saudi Arabia? You see that kind of thing happening in the future?
See the question. Am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. See, the question is that we see and we ought to see such alliances to be formed against the alliances that China is trying to build. And if I can read the question that China is lending over 400 billion to review infrastructure in Iran, China is not only doing this in Iran. The BRI Border and Road Initiative that China has taken up is also an irritant in the region for India also. So see, the point is, I will again take the discussion back to where Professor Nomiko's left about the diaspora and the interaction of the communities with each other's diaspora. And there is also another thing that, somebody has written that with with the crumbling economy of both Pakistan and Turkey, do you believe they can be real allies of some value to make a real threat? See, the point is that we have solved an issue related with Kashmir. That was our internal matter, and the government is making developmental efforts in that area. Now, the specific countries and the regions are intentionally trying to radicalize that region. It's true that they might not be a big factor alone, but if the neighboring enemies join hands together, then definitely it will have a major they can throw a major blow to the developmental efforts made by the government. Right, so the government of India has to look for certain alliances in the Middle Eastern region to counter the threats that are coming from the small nations. Independently, they might not be very effective, but when they form an alliance just to create that roadblock for a particular country, intentionally for a particular country, then definitely the problem has to be solved.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is directed towards Professor Nomikos. Professor Nomikos, Turkish UAVs, that is small drones that they manufacture, are one of the major components through which Erdogan wants to further his military aspirations. Recently, a large number of Turkish drones have been seized from terrorist outfits, including Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba. An Indian army frequently shoots down such drones during recce at the border. What could be the possible strategy to contain it? And why do you think that the world has been unable to come up with the containing strategy of aerial vehicles and blatant transfer of technologies? Professor Nomikos, are you there?
Yes. Well, that's one of the biggest problem, when it when the Pakistani transfer of nuclear technology to Turkey, would create more more a lot of anxieties in our region for the security reason, not only for Greece but for Israel and for the neighbor country like Cyprus, Lebanon and Armenia and so on. Uh, but having, Turkey as a nuclear power is not welcome by the West. And they will not, and no one is going to allow that. All right. So I think this is a vision for Mr. Erdogan, which is not going to be true. All right. Because right now, Turkey is almost ready to exploit because it's not a democratic country. All right. It has been violation of the human right. It has been violation of religious. We talk about Hagia Sophia, which is more or less, a universal, symbolism for the Orthodoxy, for the Christianity there. So what Pakistanis is playing right now is because Turkey is providing a lot of undercover support to them. You see, there is a lot of money laundering taking place right now in Pakistan. All right, and like I said before in my source briefing, that the ISI, that the Pakistan intelligence community is fully collaborating, with Turkey to get to use Turkey as the country to take, Pakistan out of the after of the international pressure and the money laundering. Pakistan is a very dangerous right now, state in all of the fact because it's really manipulated by China. It's very much manipulated, by Iran and very much manipulated by by Turkey. So when India's are right to keep an eye on Pakistan is something that the West has to do that. All right, because the money laundering is an open money laundering now in Pakistan. A lot of money goes there, And Pakistan provide, never forget that, Pakistan provide jihad and radicalized, networks to Turkey to be missionary and goes to work in Chechnya, go to work in Libya, in Kurds, go to the Kurdistan, to the Syrian. Most of them are Pakistani jihadis from Latkara and all this area. So Pakistan must be under, embargo by the West, no matter what. So India knows exactly what's going on, especially with Israel is worrying about the radicalization process in Pakistan, and it's really quite dangerous when Pakistan is a nuclear weapon transferring nuclear knowledge to Turkey. This is unacceptable, and I don't think so that the West, primarily the United States, would allow this to take place. And one country that really worries is Greece, Cyprus. But as far as I know about Israel, Israel is going to have a nightmare if Turkey has the Akuyu nuclear project a little far away. I mean, it's very shortly from Israel. I do believe this is not going to take place, and I do believe that sooner or later Mr. Erdogan would be replaced, but it's going to be a big process. How is the democratic process will go back to Turkey, because remember one thing, Mr. Erdogan is in Turkey politics since 2003. All right. So Turkey, in order to become back to the diplomatic process, we might see a lot of a social and political turmoil, and they might go on the civil war. Do not underestimate this idea. But Kurdistan sooner or later will become reality, and Turks have to realize they have to choose to go to the east or to go to the west. They cannot play both games. All right. They have to choose where they want to go. Period.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. There is another question for you from Mr. Bhavdeep Modi. Since FATF is tightening its noose around Pak for terror financing, and Turkey was the one which came to Pakistan's rescue for it to be removed from the grey list. How do you think countries like India, Greece, France play a role in having Turkey probed for terror financing and providing safe haven to Pakistani terrorists?
Okay, France right now, France is becoming really a security power because, as you realize, UK is out of Europe. All right, UK now left the European Union, so France is becoming a security power because Germany is not. Germany is economic power to some extent, run, the European Union. But France is the only security right now who's trying, to intervene and be influential in the Eastern Mediterranean. So France, and Greece and Cyprus and Israel, of course, India must be a very strong group of countries who could, push Pakistan to be under international pressure. All right, to be under international pressure, because like I said, right now Pakistan is really surrounded by China and by Turkey to play the very dirty games. All right, they are like a proxy state in order to move on their own games. So for yes, France, Greece, and India could be, and could be a group of states with the sisters of the United States. And always remember, the vice president is Mr. Kamala. And Kamala, has many reasons right now to promote the strategic role of India. And if you see how many Indians Americans are working now for the new administration, probably you'll be surprised. So what do we see now? A new strategic role for India, not only with a relation with the Greeks, but with a relation with the EU, with EU. So the India Research and Development, the Brahma missile should come to Europe, should come to the European Union, should come to the Eastern Mediterranean, should come to Greece. And the most important thing, they need to be a full member in the Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum with the rest of the Mediterranean countries. Something that President Modi has already, took it into consideration. So we are going to see in the next in the next 4 to 5 years a very dynamic India politics coming not only to the Southeast Asia, but coming to Europe. India must be involved in Europe and the United States, and especially with Greeks, because we have many cultural, similarities. It's about time to activate history, politics, security, research and development, to have, India tourists and technology to Greece. And not only, Chinese who come here and instead of collaborating with our country, they try to buy us in the very aggressive way, like they do in China, like they do, in Africa. So India is fully welcome to us in Europe, and the United States right now is there to work. And like I said before, and thank you very much to Professor, Vadana, who made about that, always activate diaspora. Diaspora is another Greece. Diaspora is another India. People who live there, they are very powerful, in culture, in technology, and they love their countries. Let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for Sonam Mahajanji. Ma'am, do you believe that Indian Muslims shall by any chance fall in the trap of Caliph Erdogan? You see, there was a series on Amazon, I believe, Ertugrul Ghazi, and it was very famous over here in India. It was a Turkish series. So, do you believe that they will fall into this trap by Caliph Erdogan?
I think there is definitely an audience for series like this. Ertugrul is basically nothing but it means resurrection of the Ottoman Empire. So there is always a section of Muslims, be it in any country, who would be aligned with some sort of a radical mindset. But I think it would just be confined to just being an audience, because otherwise, also, if you look at the participation of Indian Muslims, whether it is in ISIS or it's in any organizations floated or funded by Pakistan, any terror organizations, if you see the participation of Indian Muslims is negligible, more so from Kashmir. You see there is absolutely zero participation of Kashmiris in ISIS. So I think it's more to do with a mindset where you just rejoice because it happens. There is a section of Indian Muslims which also feels very good about the fact that India was under the Muslim rule for such a long period. I think it would just be confined to that. People can watch these series, they can enjoy it, and they can probably forget about it. I don't think it is really going to translate into some sort of an action or some sort of a mindset where people feel obliged to go and fight against the state. So, since a lot of Indian Muslims are also very aligned with, I for one, even I'm a consumer of Pakistani art and cinema, because we do have a cultural connection. So I think so do the Indian Muslims. So since Ertugrul was also very, very popular in Pakistan, probably because of the cultural alignment. So I think the same goes for Indian Muslims, and we should not read too much into it, is what I would like to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry, I think I wasn't audible. So the next question is for Andreas. Andreas, what are the expectations of common public and academia in Greece from India and ensuring peace by coming together to counter Turkey-Pakistan nexus? Andreas, you there?
Please unmute yourself. Andreas, unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. Okay. We don't have Mr. Nomikos. He's offline. So many analysts in Greece the last 2 or 3 years, many websites in Greece and also my website, where I'm editor-in-chief. We want this alliance with India. Also, you have to know that people here in Greece want this alliance with India. You have to know something. In my country, we have many Pakistanis, many immigrants, and many of them.
Η ώρα είναι 15.
Many of them they are in prison. Many of them they are bad people. I can say clearly that here in Greece, Greek citizens hate Pakistanis because they don't respect our country, and they are friend with Turkey. So all this create a good picture for India. We love India. I have many friends in army. I know very well the general of army in Greece, and he wants this alliance. But as Mr. Nomikos told before, we are in NATO, we are in the European Union, and if we want to make some steps for this, we have to ask first European Union or NATO. But we can see, on the other hand, that Turkey has good ties with China. He has good ties with Russia, and also he's member in NATO. So I believe that if we work together and if we make clever steps, we can make, as I told before, a new deal, and we can make an alliance that Turkey and Pakistan and Azerbaijan and why not in Qatar, we can win these countries and we can make something good for our countries.
Thank you, Andreas, for your comments.